I'm with Julie Taymor at the Majestic Hotel, and you're in Cannes talking about your new film, The Tempest.
That's right.
Which I'm quite eager to see, a return to Shakespeare.
Absolutely, forever.
Why did you want to go back to Shakespeare, and why Helen Mirren as Prospera?
Well, for me it's always going forward to Shakespeare, because there's just nobody who writes like this guy does. You know, he's forever ever shocking, forever ever contemporary, has something to say that is done in a way that I just never find in other writing, in other scripts, and even in other thinkers. So something like The Tempest has just an enormous, it's a phenomenal story. It's probably considered his final solo authored play. Mm-hmm. And the themes are about the abuse of power. It's about power of nature versus nurture, what is natural, what is something that is civilized or created, and how human beings take advantage of their own power and abuse it. It's about...
It's usually been a big male Prospera.
Well, definitely. Okay, so here we come to, right after I did Titus, I thought about doing, if I didn't want to do a Shakespeare right away.
Right.
But if I were going to do another one, I wanted to do The Tempest. I've directed it 3 times on the stage. So, let me just put this here. So, I was thinking, well, at this point, after Across the Universe, I usually like to go from one extreme to another, and that had 5,000 extras and lots of locations and was a musical, and now I wanted to do something much more focused with 12 actors on an island, 12 great actors, might I add. And I didn't really have a male actor that excited me in mind. I just didn't. And yet there have been a couple of phenomenal females, and Helen Mirren being one of them, who I thought, my God, does this play change, or what happens if you make that role into a female role? And it's a long story, not long, but it's very coincidental how it came to be Helen Mirren. But safe to say it did, and we decided to do a reading, and I switched all of the obvious he's to she's, the lords to mums, and then I actually eventually in the script switched a little of the backstory that really nailed it, and we did a reading to see if it was just a gimmick. You know, we don't want all the articles to be about gender switch, because even in this day and age, that's an old story. It's it's either good or it isn't, you know. But it works so beautifully in the reading, and the potential was there to actually enhance the play for people who know it. And for others, it'll just seem natural, absolutely natural, that this part, Prospera, is a woman.
Now, how much are you sticking to the setting, the period, and you, of all people, could go wild?
Yeah, with the
oh my God.
Magic.
So I'm very curious to know what your vision is.
Well, the thing is, it's set on an island, and what I love is, if you look at an island like Lanai in Hawaii, where if the uninhabited parts of it, there is no period, is there? No, it's beautiful.
The costumes could be...
The thing is Sandy Powell, who's not so bad, I might add. Sandy and I discussed making, like I did for Titus with Milena Canonero, to have costumes that would be appropriate to the characters and the situations. So, for instance, Mirren and Felicity Jones, Miranda, they've been on this island for 12 years. So the fabrics, theirs is a little more invented. Helen wears comfortable clothes, pants. She's moving around with this kind of tunic that's torn but looks like sort of a volcanic flow of ripped fabrics down her body, and indigo, which might be dyes that you would find on the island. Felicity is wearing what looks like leftover remains of fabrics that were brought over on their boat, but any girl could wear it in the summer here. They would love it, because it's not that it's fashionable, but it's loose and freeing and very sexy as a result.
So in a way, like Titus, you're fooling around with many different
yes,
periods.
But then you go to the court, which
right.
is David Strathairn, Chris Cooper, Alan Cumming, and Tom Conti, and they're from a much more brutal, conservative, orthodox time, and they're more conquistador. And I always loved the way those conquistadors looked when they came over to the New World, out of place in the jungles, in these high collar, like I am today, very stiff, tunicked, corseted type of jackets. And it's, Alexander McQueen was a genius. God rest his soul. And we talked about that kind of influence that he had, and Sandy created these extraordinary costumes that have jodhpurs and boots that could be from the 30s or 40s, and yet her upper jackets have zippers instead of lace. They have beautiful sharp zippers as all of the stripes and the details, and every male on the set wanted these jackets, these costumes. And then you had Jaimin Hansu playing Caliban, who, safe to say, we saved a lot of money on costume.
Because he's naked.
And same with Ben Whishaw, no costume, except for when he became the harpy, and we did a lot of in-camera visual effects as well as an enormous amount of other visual effects. But he has huge wings. He's black oiled. His teeth are black. This is Ben Whishaw for the harpy. His hair. So those costumes were really not costumes as such. Jaimin is the earth. They call him thou earth thou. I used a lot of the imagery from the Tempest, from Shakespeare, for my idea of Caliban. He says, here I'm stymied in this hard rock, while you do take from me the rest of the island. And his body is made of volcanic fragments of black, with fossils of old shells and sea creatures in it, and the rest of his body is colors of clay, red clay, blue clay, black clay, and sometimes he would be called a moon calf.